This is the most selfish thing a person can do. Yao Zhu, Yulai, live well. You chuckled with relief, hi. Today is another beautiful day, have you missed me? You leaned in front of the demon emperor and blinked at her, don't you understand, dragon night moon? All I did was for Yali. You held the blade she stabbed and forcefully pierced through your heart during the legendary period of the Dragon King in the Douluo continent. Su Mingyue was preparing to lie down with a salted fish while wearing smaller clothes. Life Simulator restarted successfully. Every simulation can earn talent rewards, and becoming stronger is not just a luxury. However, as Su Mingyue tried to simulate silently becoming stronger, the main players of the simulation came knocking at her door one after another. It has become a bit strange. Ayue, finally found, ran, you, fell. Keywords of the novel. Douluo Dragon King Simulator, opening Mingyue says no pop-ups. Douluo Dragon King Simulator, opening Mingyue says TXT complete collection download. Douluo Dragon King Simulator, opening Mingyue says latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Life Simulator. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Life Simulator. It's already the 6th year, Su Mingyue said softly as she lay back on her balcony lounge chair, gazing at the stars in the night sky. I didn't expect someone like me to be able to travel through time, even though I'm just an 18th tier skipper anchor. The little hand opened and weakly grasped, and my thoughts couldn't help but return to the beginning. It was a rainy day, and after going out to make a purchase, I ran into Good Luck on my way home to save a passing little loli inexplicably. He returned to the size of a baby through time travel, until his grandparents who adopted him passed away naturally not long ago. Before crossing over, as a carefree person who was greatly supported by the state welfare, I enjoyed the taste of family affection for several years. After crossing over, rubbing her slightly reddened eyes, Su Mingyue threw away her chaotic thoughts and suddenly sighed. Although I brag and fart to that group of mooncakes every day about what it would be like if I could travel, I have really traveled. It is still the current Douluo continent, and I really can't think of what an ordinary person can do. Over the years, Su Mingyue has also gained a rough understanding of the world's intelligence. Or, to put it another way, when he first saw the phrase, Tang San, the sea god from 20,000 years ago, he was completely stunned. As a relatively self-disciplined private home cooking and broadcasting, apart from the long duration of live streaming, one of the few pastimes is reading novels and watching TV dramas. So for the 4 parts of the Douluo series, Su Mingyue is still like thunder piercing through her ears. After all, the way of taking death is so famous, but when I truly traveled to the Douluo continent, it was still after the Dragon King legend period of Douluo continent. Su Mingyue is completely bewildered. Leaving aside the various opportunistic resource points of this era, they are basically divided and controlled by major forces. Just because one's own body only changes back to the size of a baby, it means that there can be no martial soul or soul power on him. Alas, have I all traveled through time? Can I still only be an ordinary person with nothing to do in my life? Looking at the sky with melancholy, Su Mingyue couldn't help but ask a question. Ding. Detected strong emotional fluctuations from the host. Life Simulator restarted successfully. Suddenly, a mechanized electronic female voice sounded, and Su Mingyue instinctively rubbed her ears. But soon, as he was familiar with various novels, he immediately reacted and cautiously asked, holding back his excited mood. Life Simulator. Ding. Yes, my lord, the Life Simulator is at your service. As the electronic female voice rang out again, a light blue light curtain immediately appeared in front of him. Owner. Su Mingyue. Age. 6 talent. None. Current number of life simulations. 1. After scanning through a personal panel similar to previous online games, Su Mingyue immediately focused on the current number of life simulations. After rubbing her eyes hard and confirming that it was not an illusion, Su Mingyue calmed down. After calming down a few breaths, immediately, he asked softly, "Can you introduce your general functions?" Ding. Answer the host, the function introduction has been expanded. Please refer to it after the electronic female voice was released. Various functional introductions about the life simulator were displayed in front of Su Mingyue. Immersive life simulation, starting with a selection of 3 talents, freely exploring the main storyline and unlocking achievements. Reserve talents and synchronize reality based on the impact rating caused by the simulation ending. It's not much different from the game I played before time travel, but unfortunately I can't play Wind Spirit Moon Shadow. After almost understanding the functions of the simulator, Su Mingyue couldn't help but jot lightly. So how should we use this number of life simulation times? Converged her thoughts, closed those introductions, and Su Mingyue changed her tone. Ding! Master, just recite and use it silently. May I ask if Master uses the life simulator, use it now. Ding! Life simulation begins. Current available talents. Twin martial souls, super Douluo illegitimate child, innate level 20 soul power, great inventor, void treasure, fast running, little boy and mother, human animal hybrid, top level family background. PS, talent level. White, green, blue, purple, gold, red, colorful. A dazzling array of about 20 talents, shining with various colors, quickly appeared on the panel in front of Su Mingyue. Good guy. Will it turn red just by opening the door directly? At a glance, Su Mingyue saw the talent emitting red light on the panel, and without hesitation, she locked it in. After indulging in his husky luck for a moment, he began to examine other talents. But as I watched, I instinctively twitched the corners of my mouth. He selectively ignored some of the abstract talent names that were of good quality, and immediately chose 3 talents. Void Monzong, red. A weapon made from the core of the law of reason, typically a golden hexahedron that can transform into a fluid. Weapons, divine keys, and props that can replicate the user's understanding of the principles of construction, contain an almost infinite knowledge space that contains a collection of knowledge about the entire civilization of the era collected by the law of reason practitioners. Attachment. Perhaps you can use it to understand the essence of martial soul and soul power. The Great Inventor, gold. The Holy One holds salaries for everyone. Braves protect the safety of everyone. And the wise guide everyone forward. Your wisdom is unparalleled in the world, you are a person born for knowledge. Attachment. If the technology tree is developed, it will gradually approach unpredictably. Top family background, purple. Rather than striving to see Rome, it's better to be born in the center of Rome, so randomly select a family with the highest comprehensive strength in the world as your background. Attachment. If you want to come out and talk about power, which path are you on? Well, although it's a bit Aurelian, compared to other talents, it's still better to combine these 3, so let's get started. Whispering softly, Su Mingyue returned to her room and immediately found a comfortable position to lie down. Ding! The talent selection is complete, and the life simulation is about to begin. Attention, Master. Life simulations do not have any impact on the real world. Please take them seriously. Simulation begins. It seems like I heard a strange electric current sound mixed with the electronic female voice of the simulator. But before she could think it over, with a blur of consciousness, Su Mingyue felt as if she had sunk into endless darkness. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Eternal Bright Moon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Cold Sisters and the Feasibility of the Task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Cold Sisters and the Feasibility of the Task. Yao Zhu, are you the only one bringing Yulai to awaken the martial soul today? Quickly released the palm that was tugging at the hem of Mingyue's clothes. In the pretentious and reserved way of arranging the sleeves, the ancient Dongfeng looked at the sisters in a familiar tone. The elders are chatting not far away, can't you see them? However, in the face of his pretentious posture, Yao Zhu frowned imperceptibly. Due to communication barriers, one has to respond to the other party. Is that so? Haha. Unconsciously, he made a sound, and the eternal east wind quickly changed the tone. It seems that I was too careless, but when it comes to Yulai, who is also 6 years old now, he is the same age as Mingyue. Although it was a rigid way of getting along, seeing the other person lead the conversation to their own sister. Yaozhu also had to respond politely, but when she turned her gaze to her younger sister, she saw her own sister looking straight ahead. Following her sister's gaze, Yaozhu finally noticed that the eyes of the eternal Dongfeng were slightly drooping, as if thinking about something about the bright moon. At this moment, a light happened to shine on the bright moon, which was already a fairy-like product. Under this light, it seemed to be imbued with a strange and fragile feeling, making it even more lovable. For a moment, she was just as stunned as her own sister, Yao Zhu. Yulai. Why are you two so serious? At this moment, I also realized something, and the eternal east wind quickly spoke up with a bit of flavor. Sister, can I go and get to know him? Yulai, who had just come to his senses, reluctantly withdrew his gaze and immediately turned to his own sister. Well, young Master Qiangu, this person next to you should be the youngest child of the Qiangu family, Qiangu Mingyue. With a slight nod, cold Yao Zhu rarely asked the eternal east wind a question. Harmful. What kind of young master is not young master? It's not that you just said you should call me Dongfeng, or Dongfeng brother would do. Subconsciously, he responded. But when Yao Zhu only looked at Mingyue immersed in his own world, he quickly patted Mingyue's shoulder. Ah, yes, Mingyue. This is your sister Yao Zhu and Yuli. They are the main sisters of the Leng family. They are not ready to call people. Feeling the movement on her shoulder, Mingyue regained consciousness from her scattered thoughts and instinctively blinked. Are Yao Zhu and Yulai at this age? According to the timeline I am currently simulating, their future, like my two cheap brothers, is undoubtedly a limit to existence, so, perhaps I can try triggering tasks or brushing achievements from them. Various thoughts flashed through my heart, but on the surface of the bright moon, she remained calm and said, Sister Yao Zhu, Yulai. Although appearing childish, the clear you sound with a hint of youthfulness began to sound. Well, hello Mingyue, younger brother. Amidst Mingyue's voice, Yao Zhu comfortably squinted her beautiful eyes, revealing a rare smile. Mingyue, what month were you born? However, compared to her sister's pleasure, Yulai suddenly asked a question. It's November. Curiously, she tilted her head and Mingyue answered truthfully. Hey. Then I'm also older than you. I'm from June, so you should call me Yulai's sister, just like calling Yao Zhu's sister. Hey. Between her words, her beautiful eyes seemed to shine, shining brightly as she looked at the bright moon and smiled. Is that right? Well, good sister Yuli. Now that the heart has made a decision, Mingyue will naturally seize the opportunity sent by the cold sisters. Hee. I also have a younger brother. Although there wasn't much expression on Mingyue's face. But in the ears of Yulai, these words were as refreshing as drinking a refreshing cold drink during the dog days. So excited, she couldn't help but step forward and embrace the bright moon, cheering. And this scene naturally caught the attention of many people, but after seeing the harmony between the embraced bright moon and Yulai, who was holding him like a jade girl and a golden child, waves of friendly laughter couldn't help but come from the crowd. Alright, Yulai, everyone should pay attention when we get down. At this moment, Yao Zhu walked over and knocked on her own sister's head while speaking. After seeing her release the bright moon from the pane, she smiled apologetically. Yulai is just a bit too lively, I hope you don't mind Mingyue. While speaking, Yao Zhu stared straight at the golden eyes of Mingyue. Seeing his eyes very clear, it immediately made Yao Zhu feel much better about his senses in her heart. It's okay, Miss Yao Zhu. On the contrary, I think the feeling that Sister Yulai just gave me was very wonderful. Bright eyes narrowed slightly, and the bright moon suddenly gave a gentle smile. The smile was like the breaking dawn of the dawn, which made Leng's sisters, who had been used to the moon's expressionless face, stunned at the same time. Fortunately, compared to being an ordinary person in her own family, Leng Yaozhu, as a second-ring soul master, quickly regained her senses. You really should smile more, Mingyue. After all, at this age, it's not appropriate to keep a straight face every day. While chuckling lightly, she couldn't help but raise her hand and lightly pinch Mingyue's face. Cough. You're right, Miss Yaozhu. Mingyue. You'll have to smile more in the future. Seeing this scene, the eternal Dongfeng, who had been on standby for a long time, finally couldn't help but feel a little overwhelmed. My younger brother can be so intimate with my goddess, even my goddess's sister has the same attitude towards him. Why can't I be happy at all when two good things are stacked together? Well, looking at this posture, the martial soul awakening ceremony should be approaching the arrival of rain and the bright moon. I would like to thank you for bringing Mingyue to meet our sisters today. With a formulaic expression on her pretty face, she looked at the eternal east wind. After being polite, Leng Yaozhu turned her gaze back to Leng Yulai and Mingyue. Next, Leng Yulai. At this moment, the eternal court presiding over the ceremony also recited the name of Leng Yulai. Hey! Have you finally arrived at me? After sister awakens my martial soul, I will cover you from now on, little Mingyue. After patting Mingyue's shoulder and proudly raising her head, Leng Yulai followed Leng Yaozhu over. And seeing Leng Yulai, he had already begun to awaken his martial soul under the care of his family elders and sister. The eternal east wind finally looked at Mingyue with some tension and said, I didn't see that you're so powerful, kid. Brother, why did you say this? Mingyue tilted her head knowingly, while also paying attention to the progress of cold Yulai's martial soul awakening. TSK, don't look anymore. If nothing unexpected happens, Yulai should be like Yaozhu, awakening the coldness family's family martial soul. Following the gaze of the bright moon towards the awakening platform, the eternal Dongfeng smiled and soon his words changed. To put on a show, I was about to hug Mingyue's shoulder and say, you kid, even someone as indifferent as Yao Zhu can help you communicate. How did you do that? Just read more books. However, in the face of the eternal Dongfeng's salty pig hand, Mingyue dodged sideways. Just as I was about to say something, there seemed to be some unexpected situation at the martial soul awakening platform. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Cold Yaozhu. Come and be my exclusive inventor, Ayue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5. Exploded hair kittens for protecting puppies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The explosive hair kitten for protecting puppies. The scene of transitional memory came to a halt, and for a moment, Mingyue let go of the pen she used for recording. I knew you were soaking here again, so you probably didn't have lunch. Stupid Ayue is really not obedient at all. The girl's dissatisfaction was accompanied by a gust of fragrant wind, and Mingyue looked up and saw the delicate appearance of Leng Yulai pouting. Here, hurry up and eat, big idiot. Without waiting for Mingyue to say anything, Leng Yulai quickly took out an insulated food box from the spatial soul guide. Carefully opened it and took out the dishes one by one, placing them on a small table where they continued to be taken out. At this moment, Sister Yulai was deeply moved, and the bright moon shouted loudly. What's wrong? This emotional call made Leng Yulai's movements pause. After taking out the chopsticks, Mingyue looked stunned, and her delicate eyebrows lightly raised. It seems like you need your sister to feed you. There's really nothing I can do about Ayue. After speaking, she picked up a delicate dish and with a sound, it reached Mingyue's lips. A fragrance wafted through her nose, and under the gentle gaze of Leng Yulai, Mingyue blushed slightly, but still obediently ate the dishes. So well behaved. Seeing this, Leng Yulai felt that his maternal nature had been greatly satisfied at this moment. With an empty hand and lightning fast, he took out a camera from the spatial soul guide and took a photo of Mingyue blushing. She continued to feed the bright moon with satisfaction. After feeding her lunch in a warm atmosphere, Mingyue finally asked. Yao Zhu didn't come. Is there anything urgent about Yulai's sudden arrival today? On weekdays, the sisters of the Leng family usually come to find themselves together, and they will use the communication soul guide to inform them in advance. But today, not only did she not inform me in advance through the communication soul guide, but it was still Sister Yulai who came alone, doesn't Ayue know? Blinking in confusion, the competition between the Tower of Spirits and the younger generation of Shrek was a major event. Not to mention the high level, even the low level spiritual masters were aware of it and went to the scene. As the youngest child of the eternal family, even if her talent is not obvious, Mingyue should still notify him of such things. It seems that I have been forgotten. Seeing Leng Yulai's expression, Mingyue suddenly understood, and her expression remained unchanged, so she joked to herself. This afternoon is a competition between the younger generation of the Chuanling Tower and Shrek Academy. Sister, she will represent the Chuanling Tower team in the battle. Sorry, Ayue, I thought you should also know about this kind of thing. Holding on to Mingyue's palm, Leng Yulai looked at Mingyue with a heart-wrenching expression on his face. At the same time as his inner love for him grew stronger, Leng Yulai's hatred towards those snobbish and timeless families also grew stronger. Well, I'm fine, Sister Yulai. After all, it's normal for a 12-year-old soul master who can't even break through a ring to be forgotten. With a light smile, Mingyue grabbed her jade hand and turned to say, no wonder Yao Zhu didn't come today. Let's go cheer for Yao Zhu together. A warm feeling poured into his heart from his jade hands, and when he saw the moon's emotions as usual, Leng Yulai nodded. Humph. I was originally here to cheer on my sister with you. It seems that Ayue is still very righteous. A coquettish expression reappeared, and Leng Yu casually pulled him towards the outside of the laboratory. The competition was held at a well-known soul fighting arena in the transmission tower. When the two of them arrived here, the audience was already bustling with voices, and at first glance, there were no empty seats. Well, there are so many people. I don't think they can occupy any good positions now. Ayue, come with me. After scanning around, Leng Yulai decided to take Mingyue to her special viewing seat. Mingyue naturally had no objection to this, so under her leadership, the two of them came all the way to the special observation seat. It is said to be a special observation seat, but in fact, this side should be said to be a collective observation box for the high-level children of the transmission tower. So, the sound of the two pushing the door and entering naturally caught the attention of everyone in the private room. The competition is about to begin. Miss Shelley has come. I'll just say Miss Shelley must be late for something. Several senior children giggled and selectively ignored the bright moon beside her, greeting her directly. After all, for Leng Yulai and Leng Yaozhu, they mostly yearn and envy Douluo. It can be seen from this that during the awakening ceremony of the martial soul, the wave of momentum created by the ancient court for Leng Yulai. Now, with her efforts, it has become a considerable prestige for her. However, in the face of these flatteries, Leng Yulai's expression remained unchanged, only nodding politely. She pulled Mingyue straight towards her sofa. Humph. Who asked you to come here? However, as soon as the two of them sat down, a cold sound sounded from the sofa in front. With the sound, the previously bustling private room also quieted down. Even soul masters are not useless martial souls, and inferior soul power. Do you think there aren't enough people thrown into my eternal family? The cold words, accompanied by a burst of spiritual pressure, made Mingyue's body tremble. Although it has disappointed your expectations, talent is not something I can decide on. As for what you said about shame, I don't think the soul guidance technology one have contributed to the transmission tower over the years is too inferior. The clear and youthful voice was accompanied by coldness, feeling the soul power support of Leng Yulai. Mingyue suddenly felt that the power in this simulation may be closely related to the main storyline. Ayue was brought by me, young Master Qinggu. If you have any dissatisfaction, just come to me. At this moment, Leng Yulai was like a stuffed kitten, with a soul emerging from her body, and she stood up coldly to drink. Humph. This kind of competition is not something you can get in touch with. Go back and do your research as soon as possible. Without answering Leng Yulai's words, after a moment of silence, the eternal Qingfeng dissipated the oppression of soul power with just one sentence. Humph. Seeing this, Leng Yulai withdrew his soul and comforted Mingyue with concern. And the children behind the transmission tower also secretly swallowed their saliva when they saw this scene. It is said that although the youngest son of the eternal family is not qualified as a soul master, his relationship with the cold family sisters and his own wisdom are unique. Now it seems that it is not a rumor, but a fact. I'm fine, Sister Yulai. Compared to this, why don't you tell me about the guys who will compete with Sister Yama this time? After all, Shrek College is known as the #1 in the mainland. Gently pinching Leng Yulai's jade hand, as the competition was about to begin, Mingyue smiled and pointed to the group of people wearing fecal green clothes. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The red and gold talents are fully activated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The red and gold talents are fully activated. The comforting words were interrupted by the touch from Yusho, and Leng Yulai's expression paused. Seeing the bright moon's expression, she couldn't help but smile slightly, secretly thinking that if she cared a little, it would be chaotic. Immediately, she introduced Mingyue to the people of Shrek College one by one. Basically, that's it, but in my opinion, the one who poses the greatest threat to my sister is Yunming. But besides our sister, there is also the eternal Dongfeng young master here, so the chances of winning should be even greater. Between words, Leng Yulai also gave her own guess based on these basic pieces of information. Yunming murmured the name softly, and Mingyue's eyes were inexplicable. At this moment, with the teams of both sides in place, the competition on the lower soul arena officially began. Martial souls and soul rings, souls and soul skills, and various visible energies are released on the vast soul fighting arena. With Mingyue's vision, he even saw many fighters shining brightly in a certain part of their bodies. A powerful blow instantly turned the tide of the battle. Such an exciting scene made Mingyue feel a little overwhelmed. But soon, as the score gradually equalized, the important players from both sides had reached the moment to play. On the side of the spiritual tower, it's Leng Yaozhu's turn, while on the side of Shrek, it's Yunming's turn. This scene naturally made everyone in the private room sit up straight, and as the battle on the soul fighting field below began, everyone was also staring intently at the battlefield. That Yunming is truly a young genius, without using his soul skills. With just one hand's self-created marksmanship, he is on par with cold Yaozhu, who is blessed with martial soul possession soul skills. Even to Mingyue, Yunming seemed to regard Yaozhu as the cornerstone of her marksmanship training. On the arena of soul fighting, Leng Yaozhu also gradually realized this. As her pretty face became increasingly cold, she realized that her younger sister and Mingyue must also be paying attention to her. But she was fooled by the other party like this. For a moment, she could no longer suppress the raging anger in her heart. While the martial soul was completely possessed, all 5 soul rings were lit up, and 2 soul spirits surrounded the body, unleashing their strongest attack to gather all their soul power. The atmosphere at the scene reached its climax with this unexpected push. And this strike, also with the blessing of high-quality soul rings and top-level martial souls, makes the surrounding space slightly distorted. Even the peak soul emperor dared not easily accept it, but Yunming remained indifferent when he saw this. Perhaps he also realized that he had angered the other person, but he only lit up his soul ring. Just casually using a combination of soul skills and marksmanship to resolve cold Yaozhu's strongest strike. This scene made everyone gasp for breath. Immediately, a stronger cheer erupted. Cold Yao Zhu was even more angry when she saw this, disregarding the loss of soul power in her body. She forcefully stimulated her martial soul and, with the blessing of her soul, charged straight towards Yunming. Not good. Sister, she. Just as Leng Yulai's worried words were spoken, Leng Yaozhu was thrown out like a willow catkin under the smoke stirred by an energy explosion. Miss Yaozhu. Excellent eyesight, allowing Mingyue to clearly see Leng Yaozhu's pale, pretty face, bleeding lips and continuously dripping wounds on her body. In an instant, my mind became blank, and the so-called knowledge of the past was simply garbage at this moment. Power. Mingyue has never had such a moment of longing for power. Ding. The more you lack something, the more you crave it. Under extreme emotional stimulation, your talents Void Manzo, Red, and Great Inventor, Gold, are fully activated at this moment. The simulator's just right prompt sounded, and at this moment, Mingyue felt as if some of the strings of limitations on her body had been completely shattered. In front of the floating body of the vast expanse of emptiness and golden light, the truth of the world has completely opened its door to the bright moon at this moment. Ayue. Hush, and the scene of such great noise naturally caught the attention of everyone in the private room. Regarding this, Mingyue just stood up calmly, silently reciting the 1,000 Realms One Ride in her heart. She saw the void 10,000 song flicker for a moment, and Mingyue's figure appeared on the soul fighting field below. You really love to show off, Miss Yaozhu. Bending down, he picked up cold Yaozhu, whose consciousness had become somewhat blurred, and the bright moon stood tall. You're very good. Looking back at him in Yunming's puzzled eyes, the floating void of Wanzang flickered once again. The bright moon disappeared here under the soft call of the young girl in her arms. Returning to the private room with Leng Yulai, Mingyue used the simulated Qianjie Cheng to return to her laboratory. While Leng Yulai was still in a dazed state, he placed Leng Yaozhu on a clean experimental table. Mingyue shook off her slightly swollen and painful head due to the infusion of a large amount of knowledge. Simulate black abyss and white flowers. Whispering softly, she lifted her hand and a cavalry gun with a long spear hidden inside appeared in Mingyue's hand. Activating the creation function of white flower with the remaining soul power of Mingyue's current level 9 soul warrior. In Leng Yulai's shocked eyes, Mingyue stabbed the white flower into Leng Yaozhu's chest. As Mingyue's face turned increasingly pale, the moment Leng Yaozhu pulled out the white flower, all the wounds in her body were completely repaired. Ha, really, almost drained me, a level 9 soul warrior. The black abyss and white flowers once again transformed back into the suspended body of the void, while the bright moon collapsed to the ground like a void. Sister, Ayue, this. At this moment, amidst Mingyue's complaints, she regained her senses and looked at Leng Yaozhu, who had already returned to her original state on the experimental platform. Leng Yulai quickly helped up Mingyue, who was weak. Don't worry, Sister Yulai, Sister Yaozhu is fine. Half-body leaning on cold Yulai, Mingyue whispered. If you want to ask, you can treat everything that just happened as a second awakening of my martial soul. Is it a second awakening? Subconsciously, she swayed her graceful swan neck and helped Mingyue sit down by the armchair. Looking at the floating void Manzang beside him, Leng Yulai couldn't believe that this regular hexahedron could even transform into such a slender and strange weapon. At this moment, cold Yaozhu on the experimental platform opened her beautiful eyes in confusion. With a gentle moan and a blink of her beautiful eyes, she realized that it was the ceiling in the Mingyue laboratory in front of her. So with a swoop, she propped up her delicate body and soon saw Mingyue and Leng Yulai sitting beside her with pale faces. Yulai, Ayue. I wasn't Ayue just now. What's wrong with you? With a whoosh, she arrived next to the two of them. In my memory, she was blasted away by the despicable Yunming who used herself as a sharpening stone. Although I vaguely felt a familiar warmth in the end, logically speaking, my body should have many wounds at this moment. But now, she only feels that her body has never been so comfortable before. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Main and branch lines triggered continuously. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Main and branch lines triggered continuously. It's okay, Sister Yaozhu. It's just that her soul power is overdrawn. With a light smile, she shook her head and felt another soft and delicate body pressing against her. Mingyue, who was sandwiched in the middle, fainted due to some difficulty breathing at the age of 12. This competition between the Tower of Spirits and Shrek ended with your intervention due to your high-profile and mysterious appearance on that day. Rumors and intelligence about you have also been exposed to the eyes of major forces. However, compared to these, it was only after truly understanding this void treasure that you understood why it could be called a red-level talent, regardless of the knowledge of the entire civilization collected by the law of reason. The power of any law can be used once a year alone. Even the point of accumulating frequency is that this void is hidden in this Douluo continent, which can be considered as a dimension reduction strike-like existence. Xiaoya, please summarize the recorded data from the human experiments conducted by Mebius, including the fusion warrior experiment. In the knowledge space hidden in the void, only the bright moon gave a command to the sky. In no time, a miniature version of Blonia appeared in front of him, commanding a circle of light balls. May I ask if the host wants to directly transmit the information, or should Xiaoya convert them into information files for the host to read? A crisp but no lowly sound came from Xiaoya's mouth, and she looked at the bright moon expressionlessly. The transmission is too complete, let's first present them in the form of data files. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiaoya held a stack of paper documents and floated in front of Mingyue. Smiling and touching her head, Mingyue took these documents and began to browse through them. With the blessing of the great inventor, he easily understood the experimental data above, so as he looked more and more surprised, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Mebius is truly a genius with the highest IQ in the previous civilization, and these experimental data have opened the door to a new world for the current Mingyue. Ding! Congratulations to the Master for triggering the main quest chapter, Abnormal Universe Rules. All living beings can set foot in the realm of eternity, but the Dragon God is unconscious, attempting to rebel with the body of the living beings, attempting to surpass the universe. The great Tao was enraged, causing a dragon to fall and all beasts to be shackled, ultimately leading to the birth of a deformed profession like Soul Master. So, rules are meant to be broken. The completion of tasks depends on the results. Ding. Congratulations to the Master for triggering the main quest chapter, Prayer for the Salvation of the Spirit of the Plane. 20,000 years ago, the ignorant one was deceived into using its luck to support the inheritors of both. 10,000 years ago, it already had enough intelligence and bestowed a son of Qi luck with the accumulated Qi luck over 10,000 years. Unfortunately, the son of fortune 10,000 years ago finally broke through the cocoon and became a butterfly, but in the end, he was still designed by a fortune thief 20,000 years ago, like a butterfly falling on a spider's web. So. I hate it, I hate it. Help me. Everyone is good, please help me. The completion of tasks depends on the results. Ding. Congratulations to the Master for triggering the chapter on side quests, the essence of martial souls. It is said that there were no human beings in the original Douluo continent. However, soul beasts that have been cultivated for 100,000 years can choose to transform into human forms. So, do you understand the meaning of this sentence? The completion of tasks depends on the results. Ding. Congratulations to the Master for triggering the chapter of side quests, Tower Master takes turns doing it, I'll sit this year. As the family with the deepest heritage of the spiritual transmission Pagoda, the eternal family, no matter which member, as long as they reach the limit of level 99, they have the qualification to become the tower owner. So, please become the master of the spiritual pagoda within 1 year. The completion of tasks depends on the results. Ding. Just as the bright moon had some insights and was marveling at the wisdom of Mebius. The simulator suddenly beeped and emitted a series of voice prompts. He was overwhelmed by a pile of tasks and achievements arranged in a row. Fortunately, the simulator thoughtfully arranged the 2 main and branch lines separately, otherwise Mingyue would have been a bit flustered. Finally triggered. After carefully reading these tasks and achievements, although having clear goals is quite enjoyable. But for now, those 2 main lines are still a bit too distant. So, focusing on the 2 branches, Mingyue fell into contemplation. However, his thinking did not last long when he was interrupted by a prompt from Xiaoya. Master, in reality, someone is looking for it. After a moment of confusion before his eyes, he realized that Xiaoya had already sent his consciousness back to reality. What are you thinking? A slightly aged but full of vitality sounded, and as she followed the sound, Mingyue saw the serious face of the Eternal Court. Do you have anything to do? Standing up lightly and stretching lazily, Mingyue straightened the wrinkles on her clothes. Although it's not my family's ancestral dragon stick, do you seem to have the power of space after your martial soul awakens again, kid? It seems that the Sisters of Leng family is very important to you. Seeing Mingyue's attitude like this, the Eternal Court was not angry either. It was just a peaceful inquiry, and in the end, it couldn't help but sigh. What if I wake up? In the eyes of all of you, I am just a waste with only 1 level of innate soul power. I couldn't figure out what Eternal Court wanted to do in my heart, but seeing that he seemed to feel a little guilty towards me, Mingyue simply followed his words. To be honest, although it was a simulation, Mingyue was quite respected for his father from the beginning. After the talent appeared, Mingyue understood a lot from his and his family's attitude and behavior. So over the years, Mingyue has donated all her research and understanding of soul-guiding technology to the Ancestral Spirit Tower for free. By indirectly helping the Eternal Family stabilize their position in the transmission tower, it can also be considered as a partial repayment of the cause and effect of the talent of top-level family background. So, for now when he comes to find himself, it depends on his attitude just now. Thinking of the side quests just triggered by the simulator, I also thought of the awakened Void Manzo. Mingyue suddenly had a bold idea in her heart. In fact, over the years, I have also given you the rare treasures in Tongmen's Ice and Fire Liani Eyes. Well, now I'm asking you again, do you want to eat that rare treasure? The feeling of guilt flashed through my eyes, and the Eternal Court quickly asked with a serious expression. I don't need those. If you insist on compensating me, please have all the high-level members of the Pagoda gather for a meeting. I have a big event related to the future of the Tower of Spirits to inform everyone. Upon hearing the Eyes of Ice and Fire, Mingyue's complex emotions flashed by, but soon he straightened his mind and said seriously. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Use the power of the great law of consciousness, lady. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Use the power of the great law of consciousness, lady. Is it related to the future of the Pagoda of spiritual transmission, murmured softly, and the gaze of the Eternal Court towards the bright moon changed to examination. Although your child's soul guidance technology developed over the years has indeed changed the transmission tower a lot. But soul-guided technology is just an external object, can you understand what I mean? He put on a majestic posture as the tower owner, and his oppressive feeling of extreme Douluo was evident at this moment. Oh, who told you what I'm talking about is soul-guided technology? However, in the face of this oppression, Mingyue remained unchanged. Isn't it soul-guided technology? As he frowned, Eternal Court realized that he seemed to be losing sight of his own young son. It's about the study of martial souls. With my years of expertise in research, I have discovered a shocking secret related to the essence of martial souls. Pretending to have a fanatical expression, I had previously instructed Xiaoya to construct in the knowledge space of the void, in order to prepare for any necessary information, which was almost completed. Why not give it directly to the old man? Seeing Mingyue's expression not resembling a madman, the court pondered for generations and asked in a tone. This is a major event that concerns the future of our human soul masters. Relying solely on one company's resources is not enough. Shaking her head, Mingyue continued, within my rough estimate, we need to gather the resources of the entire transmission tower in order to barely start this research. After speaking, Mingyue snapped her fingers, and the materials prepared by Xiaoya appeared in Mingyue's hands. Please take a look. With a serious expression, he took the information from Mingyue's hand and began to slowly read it through the ages. For a moment, only two people's breathing sounds fluctuated throughout the entire laboratory. Based on the experimental data of the fusion warrior and my understanding of the books in the library, if this is not taken into account, then we can only rely on it. With her inner thoughts set against the next plan, Mingyue decided to close her eyes and rest her mind. As time passed, the increasingly rapid breathing of the eternal court drifted in the laboratory. With his extreme Douluo's self-control like this, one can imagine his current mentality. This movement also made Mingyue feel relieved in her heart. It seems that she has taken a bait. As he opened his eyes and looked around, the eternal court carefully collected this stack of documents like a treasure. No need to delay, please prepare. I will send someone to pick you up this afternoon. Taking a deep breath, he adjusted his mindset and disappeared into Mingyue's laboratory after leaving this sentence. Next, we're going to invite the great lady who understands the law to come on stage, hee. After caressing her ear, which was already drooping to the point of her forearm, Mingyue smiled lightly and tied them into a single ponytail with a strap, draped over her left shoulder. Time always passes by unintentionally. Led by people who have been sent by the imperial court for thousands of years, they cross many access barriers and eventually reach a mysterious door. My lord and the members of parliament are all waiting for you inside, the guide said while bowing in greeting. Mingyue nodded softly upon seeing this, straightened the collar of his white shirt, and slowly stepped into it, facing the open door. After walking through a small section of the hallway filled with a sense of technology, a spacious hall, illuminated by soul power crystal chandeliers above, came into view. In the center of the hall is a spacious round table, with no empty seats. At the same time, many eyes are also projected onto the bright moon. All these masters of vision are super Douluo and even peak Douluo with advanced cultivation. In this scene, even an ordinary titled Douluo would shudder in both legs. But Mingyue remained calm, even showing an indifferent smile as she approached the eternal court with her usual demeanor. Not bad. It seemed as if she had heard a faint praise, and Mingyue raised her eyebrows. This is the famous eternal bright moon, right? Facing our gaze without changing his expression, he truly deserves to be the Tower Master's son. From the soul guidance technology that changed the operation of the transmission tower, young Master Mingyue is truly worthy of the name of genius. Heroes make young men, and even geniuses are young men. The future of our spiritual towers is truly becoming more and more brilliant. At this moment, the members of parliament on the seats also spoke up one after another. Just because Mingyue didn't make a fool of herself under their gaze, Mingyue deserves their praise. Well, members of parliament, why don't you take a look at this information first? Knocking on the table interrupted the words of the legislators, and as he spoke for generations, he used his soul power to transmit the information given to him by Mingyue in the morning to a legislator across from him. The hall suddenly quieted down, and for a moment, apart from the sound of flipping pages, there were rapid breaths one after another. It was not until the last legislator finished reading the materials and returned them to the eternal court that he spoke up to the shocked and questioning expressions of all the legislators. As you can see, this is an important research that concerns the future of our soul masters. Fortunately, the person who researched these materials is my youngest son Mingyue, who is also the lighthouse of the Soul Master realm and the future pillar of our spiritual transmission tower. So this meeting convened around this research topic is to discuss and vote on it. With his usual serious words, Eternal Court gazed at the crowd present as he spoke. These materials are too important. If they fall into the hands of the evil Soul Master, the consequences would be unimaginable. I dare ask the Tower Master, are these materials really developed by young Master Mingyue? A legislator spoke up first, and his gaze towards Mingyue was also filled with shock and scrutiny. If you have any doubts about the information, you can raise them. Mingyue responded with an unchanged expression. So the congressman began his Q&A with Mingyue, and in the end, all the congressmen even finished asking confused questions. They were still unsatisfied and looked at the Eternal Court and the bright moon with shock. It seems that you all have no objections, so Mingyue, let's start your speech. It's rare to show a smile at the meeting, said the Eternal Court with a warm voice. Everyone, please take a look at this. With a snap of her finger, she summoned out the void manzo, and a small projector appeared in Mingyue's hand. While silently using the power of the law of consciousness, he constantly opens his hands to prepare for the projection of various contents. As it was the first time using the power of the lawmaker, Void Manzong couldn't control himself and flickered several times with golden light. But none of the people present paid attention, only considering the effect when using Mingyue Martial Soul. After all, he didn't even use the spatial soul guide just now, so he took the object out of thin air, didn't he? And his martial soul's ability to use spatial power after the second awakening is already well known in the upper echelons. So, while Mingyue is using projection speech, the law of consciousness is gradually completing subconscious control and modification of everyone present. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Spiritual Pagoda Master and Martial God Armor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 10. The Eternal Ceremony of Leng Yulai, Beginning and End. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Ritual of Leng Yulai's Coming of Age, Origin, and End. Transmission Tower, in the highest standard laboratory. Finally done, Mingyue whispered as she embedded the last special crystal into the armor in front of her. Mingyue smiled with satisfaction. The decision made 2 years ago has been postponed until now. I hope these 2 sets of armor, called Source and End, which are produced with my highest technology, can be enjoyed by Sister Yaozhu and Sister Yulai. Whispering softly, these 2 most perfect works were restored to the bracelet state. After packing them separately, Mingyue directly simulated Qianjie Yicheng and returned to her home. After washing up and changing into a light-toned attire, he set off for the Leng family in his best posture. At the beginning of the night, the lights are on, but tonight's cold house is bustling with activity. In theory, although it is the coming-of-age ceremony for the second daughter of the main lineage, all major forces have sent high-level officials to visit. So as today's birthday star, Leng Yulai could only be forced to open the business with his sister Leng Yaozhu, who had a fake smile on her face. After almost all the guests arrived, the moon that the 2 sisters most expected came from far and near. I asked her the fairy was so dazzling, and it was only when I approached that I realized it was actually Sister Yulai and Sister Yaozhu. It's so dazzling that even the stars and moon in the sky are going to lose their luster tonight. The handsome couple's posture moved from far to near with the soft voice of young people. The moon stopped in front of the 2 sisters and handed them 2 handfuls of roses. What's going on? Why is it suddenly so numb? Cold Rain Lai, with a blushing face, took one of them with a hint of coquettishness. TSK. Suddenly, our mouth became so sweet. It seems that our Tower Lord wants to go further today. With a light smile, Leng Yaozhu took another handful of roses, but she looked straight at the bright moon. Going further. On her handsome and flawless face, she pretended to have a puzzled expression, and the bright moon approached Leng Yaozhu with a sudden smile. Didn't we have already agreed to stay together forever? Do Yaozhu and Yulai still want to escape? Under the moonlight, the smile of the bright moon made Leng Yaozhu's subconscious breathing accelerate, and her heart beat much faster as she couldn't move her eyes. Humph, sister loves to eat and play, let's go, let's go. There are so many adults here today. With a soft moan, Leng Yulai held on to Mingyue's right hand and swayed lightly, looking towards the bustling and spacious inner hall. Who said they were going to escape? Subconsciously retorted, and Leng Yaozhu quickly regained her senses. With a blushing face, she hugged Mingyue's left hand and said, "Those people are all here for you, the mysterious tower master. Oh, no matter what their purpose is, tonight's protagonist will only be our birthday princess. Let's go." Smiled and moved her arms. Mingyue walked into the inner hall with the cold sister's massage. Oh, the protagonist of tonight has finally arrived. He is a birthday star and also a part of entering the adult world. Happy birthday, happy adulthood, Miss Shelley. As soon as the three of them entered the inner hall, their gaze and words of blessings flooded in. Although there are many words of blessings, women's sixth sense still makes them feel that a lot of their gaze is focused on the bright moon. In such an atmosphere, the three of them arrived at the center to begin the coming-of-age ceremony. After a series of rituals, it reached the gift-giving stage, and various factions and many admirers of Leng Yulai sent gifts one after another. Until the last person finished giving the gift, everyone looked at the bright moon again. It seems everyone is looking forward to it. With a slight smile, Mingyue raised her hand and snapped her finger. These are two Super S.level Valkyrie armor pieces that have been produced using my highest production techniques. I have named them End Yen and Origin respectively. As a gift for your adulthood, Sister Yulai, as well as a late adulthood gift from Sister Yaozhu. Between words, he handed the crystal box to Leng Yulai and Leng Yaozhu respectively. Super S.level Valkyrie armor. The highest level of craftsmanship for the master of the spiritual pagoda. Hiss. For a moment, the screams of surprise at the scene echoed one after another. As is well known, it was invented and manufactured by the Eternal Moon, the owner of the spiritual pagoda. The famous Valkyrie armor is now almost completely replacing the status of Do armor and mecha. Whether you are an ordinary person or a soul master, whether you are a low-level soul master or a mid-level soul master, and even many high-level soul masters highly recognize this armor. But apart from the initial primary armor and upgraded armor, Mingyue seems to have never personally manufactured armor. But today at Leng Yulai's coming-of-age ceremony, Mingyue gave him 2 sets of Super S.level armor made with his highest technology. Thinking of this, the large number of exclamations at the scene also began to become envious and jealous. But when the sisters were feeling cool, an untimely remark made the atmosphere of the scene calm. It is said that this Valkyrie armor is incredibly skilled, but Shrek doesn't think it can replace the position of the Do armor. So today, with Miss Shelley's coming-of-age gift, I am Yunming here, representing Shrek's armor to challenge the Valkyrie armor developed by the Tower Master. I don't know what the Tower's plan is like. In the midst of Yunming's words, the people on both sides of him quickly dispersed. So while his words fell, he also slowly approached the position 3 meters in front of the three of them. Representing Shrek's armor. Hee, it turns out to be you. Since that's the case, Sister Yaozhu, let's exchange him for your sharpening stone this time. With great interest, she looked at Yunming and then Mingyue looked at Leng Yaozhu. I have this intention. Cold Yaozhu, who is now a 75-level soul saint, responded without hesitation. I am already disgusted by this and now I am jumping out to stir up trouble at my sister's coming-of-age ceremony. Still openly questioning Mingyue's bastard. Cold Yaozhu has already developed a lot of killing intent towards him in her heart. Well, there are quite a few Super Douluo players present, so could you please use your soul power to bless this barrier? As he spoke, he snapped his fingers and a strange, elongated soul guide immediately appeared in front of Mingyue. This is a barrier gadget that I have developed that can absorb energy. Firstly, it is to not damage the property of the cold family, and secondly, it is also for the safety of Mr. Yunming. Seeing everyone's confusion, Mingyue just explained with a faint smile. For a moment, everyone's expressions were different, although Leng Yaozhu is now 21 years old and has reached level 75. But Yunming is a 21-year-old but has already reached level 83, and despite him, he still has the blessing of a 3-character Do armor. Can only say that this Tower Lord is very confident in the armor he gifted to Leng Yaozhu. Several Super Douluo exchanged a glance and quickly arrived at Mingyue's side together. At his signal, they all raised their hands and injected soul power into this barrier soul guide. End of this chapter.